I was standing in the Kroger parking lot on Wilmington Pike with a paper bag of store-brand coffee and a half-gallon of 2% milk when a woman I had not seen in 11 years put her hand on my cart and said my name like a warning. "Mrs. Collett." I said, "Yes." She looked pale. Teachers get a particular kind of pale when a child has said something that does not belong in a classroom. I used to see it from the other side of a front desk, when a first grader came in from recess with a story that made the adults go quiet. She said, "The kids told the class their grandma died. They drew a funeral. Vanessa sent a note." I did not drop the milk. I set it down in the cart very carefully, the way I used to set down a stack of attendance folders when a parent came in shouting. I said, "Which kids?" "Lily and Noah," she said. "Your grandbabies." "I am so sorry. I thought you should know." I could not breathe. Not in the dramatic way people talk about. In the small way, like a drawer that will not open. I never forgot that afternoon. It was Tuesday, April 14, 2026, at 4:17 in the afternoon. I know because I looked at the clock on the dashboard after I sat down, and the numbers were still there when I started the car 10 minutes later. The coffee had tipped. A dark stain spread across the passenger seat of Howard's old Buick, the one I still drove because selling it felt like giving away his last errand. My name is Frances Collett. Most people who have known me longer than a grocery line call me Fran. I am 71. I live in Dayton, Ohio, in the same brick house Howard and I bought in 1978 for $32,000. I spent 29 years as a school secretary, first at Westview Elementary and then, for the last decade, at a building that no longer exists. I know how pickup works. I know what an emergency card looks like when someone has filled it out in a hurry. I know the difference between a parent who is late and a parent who is rewriting a child's life on a form. I said, "Oh, I see. This is a family revenge story. No violence. Only paper, timestamps, and a woman who mistook my grief for weakness." Howard died on February 3, 2025, at Kettering Medical Center, in a room with a window that faced a parking garage. Heart failure. He was 73. We had been married 49 years and 7 months. He left a navy wool coat on the hook by our kitchen door and a yellow legal pad on the dining table with a grocery list in his block print. Milk. Coffee. Batteries for the smoke detector. He never bought the batteries. The funeral was February 8 at St. Helen. I wore the black dress I had bought for my sister's service in 2019 and Howard's wedding band on a thin gold chain. Lily was 7 then. Noah was 5. They sat in the front pew with me and held a program I had folded into a smaller square so their hands would have something to do. Vanessa wore a charcoal coat that looked expensive under the church lights. She cried at the right times. She posted a photograph of the casket spray before we had even reached the cemetery, with a caption about family and strength and a heart emoji. I did not have Instagram then. June, my neighbor, showed it to me later on her phone, standing in my kitchen with her shoes still on because she never stays long enough to take them off. After the luncheon in the church basement, Vanessa put her hand on my elbow. Her nails were a clean pale pink. She said, "The kids are too raw, Fran. I am going to take them home and keep things quiet for a while. They need to be protected from all this grief." I said, "They just lost their grandfather. I am their grandmother. Quiet does not mean gone." She smiled the smile she used for people she was about to manage. She said, "Marcus agrees. Give it a little time." Marcus was standing by the coffee urn with his tie loosened, looking at the floor. He was 37 then, a warehouse supervisor on Needmore Road, a man who had always been gentler than he was decisive. When I caught his eye he nodded, once, as if nodding were the same as speaking. They left with the children at 2:40 that afternoon. Lily waved from the back seat of Vanessa's white Honda. Noah had Howard's program still folded in his fist. I stood on the church steps with a foil tray of leftover ham and watched the Honda turn toward Wilmington. I thought I would see them on Sunday. Sunday came. I called at 10 in the morning, which was the hour we had always used for pancake check-ins. The phone rang 4 times and went to Vanessa's voicemail, a bright recorded sentence about being with the kids and leaving a message. I left one. I said I had extra cinnamon rolls and the photo albums from the cabin if they wanted to look at Howard's fishing pictures. No one called back. I called Monday evening. Voicemail. I called Wednesday after Noah's usual bath time. Voicemail. On Friday I called Marcus's phone, the same number he had had since he was 22. He answered on the 6th ring, and there was a game on in the background. He said, "Mom. Hey. It is not a good night." I said, "I only want to hear their voices." He said, "Vanessa thinks we should give it more time. They cried after the funeral. She does not want them triggered." I said, "Triggered? They are children. They are allowed to miss people." He said, "Just a couple weeks. I promise." A couple of weeks became March. I left 2 more voicemails. I sent a text to the family thread we had used for 5 years, the one with the photograph of Lily's missing front tooth as the group image. The text said, "I am here. I have Howard's old checker set if they want it. Delivered. Not read." On April 2, 2025, my calls to Vanessa began to ring once and stop. Then they did not ring at all. A small robotic voice told me the number you have dialed is not accepting calls from this line. I sat at the kitchen table with Howard's yellow pad and wrote the date in the margin, because that is what secretaries do when a system changes. April 2. Blocked. I called Marcus. He let it go to voicemail twice. On the 3rd try he picked up and sounded tired in a way that was not about work. He said, "She thinks you are making it worse, Mom. She says every call sets Lily back." I said, "Then you bring them here. I will not call. I will bake. I will sit on the porch." He said, "Give it time." I have spent my life giving people time. Time is a polite word for being erased. In May I started leaving things on their porch. They rented a beige split level on a cul-de-sac in Huber Heights, the kind of street where every mailbox is the same black metal. I drove over on a Thursday morning after I knew Marcus had left for the warehouse and Vanessa took the children to school. I set a blue Tupperware of lemon bars on the 2nd step, with a note in my regular hand. For Lily and Noah. Love, Grandma Fran. 214 Maplewood if you want to call from June's house. The next day the Tupperware was gone. No text. No thank you. In June I left a paperback of the Boxcar Children and a small red fire truck. Those vanished too. The note I had taped to the truck was later found, folded twice, in their recycling bin. I kept it in a kitchen drawer under the rubber bands. On July 12 I left a wrapped book. It came back 2 days later, the wrapping torn. Someone had written return in ballpoint on the brown paper. Marcus came by on a Saturday in August with a 12-pack of ginger ale and stood in my driveway as if the house might ask him questions. He said, "Vanessa is under a lot of pressure. The kids have activities. She thinks you are hovering." I said, "I am their grandmother. Hovering is the job." He looked at the navy coat still hanging by the kitchen door, visible through the screen. He said, "Maybe take it down, Mom. It upsets her when she drives past and sees his things." Vanessa had not driven past. I would have known. June watches the street the way some people watch weather. I said, "Tell your wife I am not a coat. I am not a mood. I am the woman who sat in every school program those children ever had until she decided I was inconvenient." He put the ginger ale on the porch rail and left. I drank none of it. I poured it down the sink a week later, can by can, and wrote the date on the yellow pad. August 16th. Ginger ale. No children. September came, and with it the first week of school. Riverside Elementary. I knew the building. I had subbed in the office there twice in 2009 during a flu week. I knew the pickup loop, the cone that always fell over by the flagpole, the way the secretary's window faced the lot so she could see who was crying in a car. I bought a card for Noah's first day photograph. 2 weeks later it came back with a yellow USPS sticker. Not deliverable as addressed. The address was correct. I put the returned card in a shoebox on the dining table. Then the Halloween note. Then a small envelope with $10. The shoebox began to look like a file. On November 27th, Thanksgiving, I cooked anyway. I have never known how to make a holiday smaller just because the chairs are empty. I roasted a chicken instead of a turkey because 2 people do not need 12 pounds of anything. June came at 3 with a bowl of cranberry sauce from a can and her good silver, which she only uses when she is trying to make a sad table look official. I had called Marcus on Monday of that week. He had answered from the warehouse break room. I could hear a vending machine humming. I said, "Dinner is at 4. The green dish is for Lily's mashed potatoes. I will put the rolls in late so they are hot." He said, "I will talk to Vanessa." On Thursday at 3:40 I set 2 extra plates. At 4:15 I covered the chicken with foil. At 5 I stood at the front window and watched Maplewood Avenue do nothing. At 5:40 June said, "Eat, Fran, or you will faint in your own gravy." At 6:10 Marcus sent a text. "Sorry Mom. Vanessa made other plans. The kids think you moved." I stared at the screen until the letters stopped being language. I typed, "Moved where?" He did not answer for 20 minutes. Then, "Florida. She told them you do not do holidays anymore. It was easier. Please do not make this a thing. Easier." I sat down in Howard's chair and looked at the 2 clean plates. I said out loud, to the empty dining room, "She told my grandchildren I left them." June reached over and turned the phone face down. She said, "Write it down. Date. Time. Exact words." I did. November 27th, 2025, 6:10 p.m. Kids told Grandma moved to Florida. Does not do holidays. Marcus, it was easier. I ate 3 bites of chicken and put the rest in the freezer in labeled containers, because waste has always offended me more than pain. December arrived with a form letter. It came in a plain white envelope with a printed label. No stamp from a child's hand. No sticker. Inside was a single sheet, Times New Roman, 12 point, the kind of letter a person sends when they want the record to show they were polite. Dear Francis, the children are having a quiet Christmas this year as we continue to process Howard's passing. Please do not send gifts. It confuses them. We wish you peace. The Collett family. The Collett family. As if I had been voted out. There was no signature. There was a small printed wreath in the corner that looked like it had been copied from a free template. I mailed 2 gifts anyway, because I am not a form letter. A puzzle of the United States for Lily. A wooden train for Noah. Both came back in January with yellow stickers and a handwritten "Not at this address" in Vanessa's pointed script. I added them to the shoebox. The shoebox no longer fit on the table. I moved it to Howard's side of the closet, on the floor beneath the navy coat I had not taken down. In February, on the 1st anniversary of Howard's death, I drove to the cemetery and found a store bouquet still in its plastic sleeve, price tag attached, $12.99. A card said, "We miss you, Grandpa. From your family." My name was not on it. I put grocery carnations beside theirs and did not take hers away. March 22nd was Lily's 8th birthday. I had bought her a book in January and kept it in my purse for 2 months, a hardback about a girl who maps her neighborhood. I wrapped it on the 21st with yellow paper and a ribbon I tied twice. I wrote on the flap, "For Lily, who notices everything. Love, Grandma Fran." March 22nd, 2026. I did not trust the mail. I drove to the beige split level at 2 in the afternoon, which was when the party invitation I had seen on a classmate's mother's public photo said the gathering would begin. I did not go to the door. I parked 3 houses down, because I still believed in not making a scene in front of children. I waited. Balloons were tied to the mailbox. Pink and gold. A few cars I did not know. At 2:20 Vanessa came out with a tray of cupcakes and laughed at something a woman in yoga pants said. At 2:35 the front door opened again and Lily stood on the step in a blue dress with a white collar. She had a smear of frosting on her wrist. She looked up the street, the way children look when they are waiting for a particular car. I got out. I walked as far as the neighbor's maple. I lifted the book so she would see the yellow paper. Vanessa saw me first. She handed the tray to the woman in yoga pants and came down the walk fast, smiling with her mouth and not her eyes. When she reached me, she stood so that her back was to the house, blocking Lily's view with her shoulder. She said, "You need to leave. You are upsetting the children." I said, "It is her birthday. I have a book." She said, loud enough for the woman on the lawn to hear, "I am sorry, ma'am. This is a private party." She is a woman from church who gets confused. I looked at her. I said, "Say that again." She smiled wider. She said, "Please do not make me call someone. The kids do not know you." Lily called, "Mom? Who is that?" Vanessa turned her head and sang, "Nobody, baby. A helper from church. Go eat your cupcake." Lily looked at me for one more second. I saw her hesitate. I saw the almost. Then Vanessa's hand made a little shooing motion behind her back, and Lily went inside. I stood there with a wrapped book and the March wind coming down the cul-de-sac. I said, very quietly, "I am her grandmother." Vanessa said, "Not today." She went back up the walk. The woman in yoga pants stared at me over the cupcakes with the particular pity of someone who has been given a story and decided it is true. I drove home. I put the book on the dining table. I did not cry in the car. I cried in the kitchen, standing at the sink, because that is where I have always done the private things. 2 days later Marcus came by after his shift. He smelled like warehouse dust and the mint gum he chews when he has been drinking the night before. He said, "She said you showed up and scared the kids." I said, "She told a yard full of mothers I was a stranger from church." He sat on the porch step and put his head in his hands. He said, "I cannot fight her every day, Mom. I am trying to keep the peace." I said, "Peace that requires my death is not peace. It is a press release." He did not answer that. He asked if I still had any of Howard's beer in the garage fridge. I said no. He left. The money talk started in late March, after the birthday, as if one humiliation had reminded Vanessa there were others available. Marcus called on a Wednesday night. He was careful. He used the voice he used when he needed me to sign something when he was 17. He said, "Vanessa has been looking at listings. The house is a lot for you alone. There is a 1-bedroom at Oak Ridge, $800 a month, first floor, no stairs. We could sell Maplewood and put some aside for the kids." I said, "The house is not mine to sell in the way she thinks." He said, "Dad left it to you." I said, "Dad left it to a trust. I am the trustee. The Call It Family Residence Trust, signed June 11, 2021, at David Okonkwo's old office on 3rd Street, before David even handled family cases. The house stays. I stay. If I leave, it does not become a down payment on your wife's next performance. There was a silence. I could hear Vanessa's voice in the background, not the words, only the rhythm of a person coaching a call. Marcus said, "She thinks you are being difficult. The house is worth almost $192,000. We checked Zillow. You do not need all that space." I said, "I need the kitchen where your children learn to crack eggs. I need the porch. I need the closet that still holds your father's coat." What she needs is a story in which I am a problem she already solved. He said, "Just think about the apartment. I will send the listing." He sent it. Oak Ridge Efficiency Apartments. $780 a month, plus electric. A photograph of a beige room with a window over a dumpster. In the email he had written, "Vanessa says this would be simpler for everyone." I printed the email. I put it in the shoebox. Then I took the shoebox out of the closet and bought a 2-inch binder at the drugstore on Dorothy Lane, black, with a label I typed on Howard's old machine. Call it /children/record. I did not know yet what I was building. I only knew that a woman who will call you a stranger on a lawn will later call you something worse on a form. I was right. The death lie did not arrive all at once. It arrived the way mold arrives, in a corner you do not check every day. In early April, before the Kroger parking lot, June came over with a plate of sliced apples and a look I did not like. She said, "My granddaughter is in Lily's class. Mrs. Pell." She said Lily told Circle Time that her grandma had a heart attack and went to heaven to be with Grandpa. Noah said it too, in first grade, to Mr. Harlan. They drew pictures. There was a casket. There was a stick figure with my hair. I sat down before I intended to. I said, "Vanessa told them I was dead." June said, "That is what it sounds like." I said, "Marcus would not." June said, "Marcus would not start it. He would let it stand." I called him. He did not answer. I called again from June's landline, the beige wall phone in her kitchen that Vanessa had never thought to block because Vanessa is the kind of person who blocks a name and believes the world has ended at the edge of her contacts. Marcus picked up. He said, "June? Is Mom okay?" I said, "It is your mother. I am alive. Your children have been told I am not. I would like you to explain that sentence to me as if I am slow." The silence was long enough to hear him walk into another room and shut a door. He said, "Vanessa said they kept asking when they could see you. It was making Lily anxious. She told them you had a heart attack. She said it would stop the questions." I said, "She killed me to make her evenings easier." He said, "That is not fair." I said, "Fair is a word people use when they have already chosen a side." He said, "I will talk to her." I said, "You have been talking to her since February of last year. I am done waiting for your conversations to grow a spine." I hung up. It was the first time I had hung up on my son. My hand shook, but my handwriting on the binder log did not. April 9, 2026. Marcus confirms Vanessa told children Fran died of heart attack so they would stop asking. On April 11, Vanessa posted a story. Denise, from the old Westview carpool, screenshotted it and emailed it to me. A candle. A blurry windowsill. We lost someone this year and we are holding each other close. Thank you for the love. Pray for our little ones. No name. No date. Public grief, useful if you want casseroles and do not want questions. I printed the screenshot. I wrote the URL and the time on the back. 3 days later, Carol Dennison put her hand on my card in the Kroger lot, and I understood that time was not going to correct this. Time was the tool they were using. She sent me the photograph of Vanessa's note that night. The same pointed script as "not at this address." 2 days later, April 16, June came across the yard at 8:40 at night in her housecoat and held out her cordless phone as if it were hot. She said, "The school concert. I had my number on the volunteer list from last fall." Someone forwarded the classroom voicemail chain. "Just listen." I listened. A noisy gym. A teacher asking parents to pick up folders. Then a small voice I would know in a fire. Lily said, "Mrs. Pell, can you send the recording to my grandma?" Then, softer, "I wish grandma was not in heaven so she could hear me do the verse." A woman laughed gently. A woman who was not me. Vanessa said, "She can hear you from heaven, baby. That is enough. Do not make it sad." The message ended. I handed June her phone. I went home. I stood in the kitchen under the same fixture Howard installed in 1989, and I said his name once, not as a prayer, as a report. I said, "They told the children I was dead. I am going to unwrite it." I did not drive to the beige split level. I did not bang on a door. I did not give Vanessa a scene she could film and caption. On Monday morning, April 20th, I called the office of David Okonkwo, Family Law, on 3rd Street. The receptionist said he had an opening at 9:30 the next day. I said I would be there at 9. I spent that Monday building the binder the way I used to build a student file when a custody order came in and the office needed to know, by 3 o'clock, who was allowed to walk out the front door with a child. Returned cards. Yellow stickers. The form letter. The Oak Ridge email. Denise's screenshot. Carol's photograph of the classroom note. My call log in black ink. The recycling bin note. A photograph of the Tupperware on their second step. June wrote a one-page statement, dated and signed, and had her daughter notarize it at the credit union. I also had, in Howard's metal box in the bedroom closet, the trust documents and the last will. I had not read Article 7 in years. I read it that night at the dining table with a magnifying glass I use for medicine bottles. Article 7. In the event our son, Marcus Howard Collett, is deceased, incapacitated, or otherwise unfit or unable to care for his minor children, I appoint my wife, Frances Eleanor Collett, as standby guardian, and I request that any court of competent jurisdiction give this nomination substantial weight. Howard's signature. June 11, 2021. 2 witnesses. A notary stamp I remembered because the notary had complimented my pen. I put the will in the front of the binder, in a plastic sleeve. David Okonkwo is 52, precise, and uninterested in speeches. His office smells like paper and lemon cleaner. On April 21st I sat in a chair with wooden arms and set the binder on his desk as if I were delivering interoffice mail. He said, "Tell me what you want." I said, "I want my grandchildren to know I am alive, and I want that fact written down where a school secretary has to honor it." He turned pages. He did not hurry. When he reached the classroom note he made a small sound, not quite a laugh. He said, "Parental alienation is difficult. Courts in Ohio will look at grandparents, especially after a death in the family, if you can show harm and if you can show the parent is using the child as a wall. Do you have anything that is not only mean?" I said, January 11, 2026. The children were left in the Honda in the grocery lot on Brant Pike for 40 minutes. It was 38 degrees. A neighbor, Luis Alvarez, 2 doors down, saw them and called the non-emergency line. There is a report. Vanessa told the officer she had run in for milk. The receipt, if they pulled it, would show a cart that takes longer than milk. I have Mr. Alvarez's number. He is willing to talk. David looked up. He said, "How do you know the report exists?" I said, "I was a school secretary for 29 years. When a child arrives with a story about sitting in a car, I know who to ask, and I know what a report number looks like when a neighbor writes it on a notepad." Mr. Alvarez wrote it down. He is a retired bus driver. He writes everything down. David said, we will request it properly. We will also request the school emergency cards through the right channel after we file. Do not go fishing in the office yourself. You know better. I did know better. I had spent my career watching people try to obtain records with anger instead of a form. He said, retainer is $3,500. $175 an hour after that. Emergency motion for temporary allocation of parental rights to a grandparent, plus a request for a pickup authorization directed to the school. We lean on alienation, the death narrative, the car incident, the will, and the pattern of interference. We serve Vanessa and Marcus properly. No surprises out a back door. I wrote him a check. My hand was steady. The money came from the account Howard and I had labeled house repairs, which felt correct. David filed on April 30th. The papers were served on May 1st at the Huber Heights house by a process server named Colette, which I did not plan and did not comment on. She handed the packet to Marcus at 6:12 in the evening, according to the affidavit. Vanessa was in the driveway filming the server until Colette told her, politely, that recording did not stop service. Marcus called me that night from the warehouse parking lot. I could hear trucks. He said, Mom, what did you do? I said, I filed a true thing in a real court. He said, Vanessa is saying you are unstable. She is saying grief made you dangerous. I said, then she can say it to a judge, with dates, and I will bring the binder. He started to cry, quietly, the way he did at 12 when he broke the garage window and thought I would love him less. He said, I should have stopped her. I said, yes. You should have. You can start now. The emergency hearing was May 6th, Montgomery County Domestic Relations, Judge Patricia Voss. The courtroom was smaller than people expect. Vanessa wore navy and a thin gold cross I had never seen her wear to church. Marcus sat beside her and looked at his hands. I sat with David and the binder and a glass of water I did not drink. David did not raise his voice. He laid out the returned mail, the form letter, the classroom note, June's affidavit, and Howard's Article 7. He told the judge about the concert voicemail. He told her we had requested the January report and the school records. Vanessa's attorney said this was a grieving grandmother manufacturing a crisis. He said Florida was a misunderstanding. He said the heart attack story was a metaphor a child had taken too far. Judge Voss looked over her glasses. She said, Counsel, I have 2 children on paper who drew a funeral for a living woman, and a mother who sent a school a note confirming the funeral. I am not in the metaphor business this morning. She granted temporary legal custody to me pending a full hearing. Supervised contact for Vanessa. Marcus to have parenting time if he exercised it sober and in my home or a public place, not as a messenger for his wife. A pickup authorization was to be filed with Riverside Elementary by the close of business. No one was to tell the children I was dead, ill, or living in another state. The order was signed at 11:40. I held the stamped copy in both hands in the hallway and felt, for the first time in 14 months, that the English language still worked. David said, do not go to the house. Do not call her. The school will get the order. You pick up Friday if that is what you want. Follow their protocol like you used to make other people follow it. I said, Friday. 2:40. I know the loop. I spent Thursday organizing the spare room. Lily's old quilt. Noah's red truck. A moon nightlight. 2 new toothbrushes. I made a grocery list on Howard's yellow pad. Milk. Eggs. Pancake mix. Apples. The cheap syrup they prefer. At 9 I checked the manila folder the way I used to check a field trip stack. Order. Pickup authorization. License. A spare copy. I wrote, do not explain in the hallway. Let the paper speak. June came over with washed apples and sat in Howard's chair. She said, "What if Vanessa gets there first?" I said, "Then Dana will still have the order." Pickup is not a race. It is a list. I did not sleep much. I had waited through worse nights in hospital chairs. Friday, May 9, 2026. I wore a gray cardigan and the same black shoes I used to wear to work, the ones that do not announce themselves on tile. I put the court order in a manila folder with a paper clip. I put a copy of the pickup authorization behind it. I put my driver's license in the front pocket, face out, the way I used to ask parents to do at the window. I arrived at Riverside Elementary at 2:26. I parked in a visitor space, not in the loop, because I was not going to be the woman who blocked a bus for a feeling. The office smelled like pencil shavings and laminate. The secretary was new to me, young, with a lanyard of keys. Behind her, in the doorway to the inner office, stood Dana Keene. Dana had been an assistant principal at Westview 20 years earlier. She had gray in her hair now and the same habit of reading a document twice before she let her face do anything. I said, "Dana. Francis Collett. I have an order and a pickup authorization for Lily Collett and Noah Collett." She said, "Fran." She took the folder. She read it twice. She looked at the stamp. She looked at my license. She looked at the authorization the district liaison had already faxed the day before, which I knew because David's office had confirmed the fax at 3:51 on Thursday. She nodded. She said, "We follow the order. I will get the children. You wait here. No one leaves this office with them except you." The young secretary's eyes were wide. Dana told her, quietly, to call the classrooms and not the parents. Protocol. The school does not stage family theater in a hallway. I stood by the counter with my hands around the empty folder and listened to the clock. 2:39. 2:40. Somewhere a PE class bounced a ball. Lily came first. She had on a pink backpack with a broken zipper pull and a paper crown from a reading contest. She saw me and she ran. She is 8, and when an 8-year-old runs in an office you can hear every sneaker. Then she stopped, 3 feet from me, as if the floor had a line painted on it. She whispered, "They said you were dead." I knelt. My knees cracked. I did not care. I said, "I was never dead, baby. Someone told a story. I am standing here. You can touch my sweater." She did. She pinched the gray wool between 2 fingers, the way she used to test a cake for doneness. Then she made a sound I will not perform for anyone, and she put her face against my shoulder. Noah arrived half a minute later with Mr. Harlan's aide. He had a library book and a smear of blue marker on his thumb. He looked at Lily first, to see if the world was allowed to change. Then he looked at me. He said, "Grandma." I said, "Yes." He walked into my coat and stayed there. He cried in that open, unembarrassed way 6-year-olds still have, the way adults forget on purpose. I felt his library book press into my ribs. Dana stood to the side and did not rush us. A good principal knows when a form has done its work and a child still needs 30 seconds. Vanessa arrived at 2:51. I know the time because I looked at the office clock, the same way I used to look when a parent came in hot. She was late. She was loud. She had her phone up before the glass door had even shut, filming the counter, filming me, filming the children with their faces in my clothes. She said, "Get away from my kids. You are not allowed. Someone call the police. She is unstable." Dana said, "Cameras off in the office. That is a school rule. Put it down." Vanessa did not put it down. Dana stepped closer, still calm, and repeated it. Vanessa's phone lowered 2 inches, then dropped to her side. Her mouth kept going. She said, "This woman is sick. She has been stalking us. She showed up at a birthday. She leaves packages. The children think she is a ghost. You cannot just hand them to her." Dana slid a copy of the order across the counter. The paper made a small dry sound. She said, "This is a court order granting Mrs. Collett temporary legal custody and pickup authorization. The district has it on file. The children are being released to her. If you have an objection, you take it to the judge, not to my lobby." Vanessa looked at the paper as if paper had personally betrayed her. She said, "Marcus will be here. He will tell you." Marcus came through the door at 2:58, smaller than his voice, in his warehouse polo with his name on the breast. He looked at Lily. He looked at me. He looked at Vanessa's phone and flinched. Vanessa said, "Tell them. Tell them she is not taking our children." Marcus said, "There is an order, Van." She stared at him. He said, "I signed for the papers. I read them. I am not going to lie in this office." Lily had turned her head to watch her parents. I felt her fingers tighten in my cardigan. I said, close to her hair, "You are safe. We are going to my kitchen. There are apples." Vanessa started to cry, loudly, the kind of crying that asks a room to rearrange itself. Dana did not rearrange. The young secretary found something urgent to do with a stapler. Vanessa said, "You are stealing them." I said, "I am picking them up." There is a difference. You would know it if you had ever worked a front desk. Dana walked us to the side door, not the main loop, so we would not become a story for the pickup line. Marcus followed as far as the mat and then stopped, as if an invisible line had been drawn for him too. He said, "Mom, I will call David. I will do whatever the order says." I said, "Start with the truth. Tonight, if you speak to them, you will not say heaven. You will say I am at 214 Maplewood, and I have been there the whole time." He nodded. Vanessa screamed his name from the office. He went back inside. I buckled Noah into the booster I had put in the Buick that morning. Lily climbed in by herself and held the book I had kept in the glove box since March, the one with the yellow paper still taped at the edges. She said, "Is this for me?" I said, "It has been for you since winter." We drove to Maplewood. I took the long way, past the park and the library, not because I was hiding, because I wanted the first 10 minutes of being believed to be quiet. At the house, June was standing on her porch with her arms folded, pretending to check a plant. She lifted one hand. I lifted one hand. That was enough. Inside, the children stood in the living room and looked at Howard's chair as if he might be practicing a joke. Lily walked to the navy coat and put her face in the sleeve. Noah asked if we still had the checkers. I said, "We have the checkers. We have milk. We have rules. No phones at the table. Shoes by the door. If you are sad, you may say so. If someone tells you I am dead again, you tell me, and we will write it down." Lily said, "Mom said you had a heart attack in Florida." I said, "I have never lived in Florida. My heart is ordinary and still working. Your mother told a story that was useful to her." Useful is not the same as true. Noah said, "Are we in trouble?" I said, "No. You are in the kitchen. Trouble is for adults who write lies on school forms." We ate grilled cheese. I cut Lily's into triangles. Noah wanted ketchup. I gave him ketchup. Tonight was for bread and heat. They took baths. Noah wanted the moon night light before he would take off his shoes. I plugged it in. I laid out the new toothbrushes. At 8:10 Lily fell asleep holding the book. At 8:22 Noah asked me to leave the hall light on, and I did, and I sat in Howard's chair with the court order under the salt shaker. Saturday morning. Lily stood in the kitchen in Howard's brown socks. Noah asked if pancakes were legal if it was not Sunday. I said they were legal whenever I said they were. Lily said, "Did you really move to Florida?" I said, "No. I have been at this sink." If someone tells you a person moved, you may ask for an address. She wrote 214 Maplewood on a receipt and put it in her pocket. Marcus called the landline at 10. I put him on speaker. He asked if they had slept. He said he would come Wednesday if the order allowed it. I said it allowed it if he arrived as himself. Lily asked why Daddy sounded small. I said, because a smaller truth is still better than a large lie. The full hearing was May 28th. In the weeks between, David received the records. The school emergency card, dated September 8, 2025, filled out in Vanessa's hand, had a line for maternal grandmother. She had written, "No maternal grandmother, deceased." There was a check mark in a box that asked if the student had recently experienced a death in the family. She had checked yes. I looked at that card in David's office for a long time. I have filled out 1,000 of those cards. I have called the numbers on them at 2 in the morning. I have watched a grandmother arrive in slippers because she was listed and she came. Vanessa had taken my name off the living world with a ballpoint pen. The January report was there too. Non-emergency call. 2 children in a locked Honda, engine off, 38 degrees, approximately 40 minutes, per Mr. Alvarez and the timestamp on the store camera, the officer noted. Vanessa told the officer she had lost track of time. No charges. A record. Records are enough when you are not trying to punish. You are trying to show a pattern. Vanessa arrived at the hearing with a different attorney and a folder of printed Instagram comments. People saying they were sorry for her loss. People calling her a strong mom. David objected to most of it. Judge Voss allowed 1 page and then looked bored in the specific way judges look bored when a feeling is being offered as a fact. Vanessa testified that she had been overwhelmed. That I had hovered. That the children needed a clean break after Howard. That the word deceased was a mistake, a copy forward from some other form, a clerical nothing. That the funeral drawings were therapy. David asked her, evenly, whether she had told Lily that I had a heart attack. Vanessa said, "I may have said something like that when I was exhausted." David asked whether she had sent a note to Mrs. Pell stating that the grandmother had died. Vanessa said, "I was protecting them from a confusing relationship." David handed her the emergency card. He said, "This is not a mood. This is a school record. You wrote deceased. You asked a public building to treat a living woman as a completed event." Vanessa looked at Marcus. Marcus looked at the table. Judge Voss kept the temporary order in place for 90 days. Legal custody with me. Vanessa to have supervised visits at a county facility on Tuesdays and Saturdays, 2 hours, no phones, no discussion of death, Florida, or church strangers. Marcus to attend a substance evaluation and a parenting course, and to have Wednesday dinners at my house if he arrived sober. A review in August. The trust on the Maplewood house was not before the court, she said, and would remain as written. She looked at Vanessa when she said it. She also said, to the room, erasing a parent figure on a school form is not protection. It is a document. Documents have consequences. Vanessa made a sound. Her new attorney touched her wrist. Outside the courthouse, a few of the Huber Heights mothers were waiting, not for me, for Vanessa. I heard later, from Denise, what happened in the group chat that night. Someone posted the public court docket. Someone else posted, "I thought the grandma was dead." A third person wrote, "She told me at the birthday that a confused woman from church had shown up." The chat, Denise said, became very quiet, and then very long. I did not join any chat. I went home and boiled noodles. Marcus came to the first Wednesday dinner with a folder from the evaluation and a grocery store pie. He stood in the doorway until Lily decided he was allowed in. He told them, at the table, with his eyes on his plate, that Grandma did not die. That Mom had been wrong. That he had been quiet, and quiet had been a kind of lie. Noah said, "Are you going to live here?" Marcus said, "No. I am going to get better at being your dad from the right house." I did not help him with the sentence. He needed to finish it himself. Vanessa's first supervised visit, I was told, lasted 40 minutes of the 2 hours. Lily would not sit in her lap. Noah asked, in the supervisor's notes that later came to David, whether Mom was going to say Grandma was dead again. The supervisor wrote that Vanessa changed the subject to Disneyland. The notes are dry. I like dry notes. The house stayed in the trust. Vanessa's name never touched the deed. Oak Ridge Efficiency did not get my furniture. Howard's coat stayed on the hook. In June I made pancakes on a Saturday because that is what the children had been promised in a different life, and I am in the business of keeping the small promises. Lily sat on her knees on the chair Howard used to sit in. She had syrup on her chin. Noah was cutting his into squares, the same way Marcus did in 1994. Lily said, "Grandma. Can heaven lie?" I turned the last pancake. I thought about the easy answers, the ones that sound like needlepoint. I said, "Heaven does not need to. People can. People lie when a true living grandmother is inconvenient. That is not protection. That is erasure. You are allowed to love your mother and still know when a story is wrong." She nodded, considering this the way she considers maps. She said, "I knew it was you at the birthday. I just did not have the paper." I said, "You have the paper now. You also have my phone number written inside the kitchen cabinet, and June's landline on the fridge, and Dana Keene's office if anyone ever tells you I vanished." Noah said, "Can we call you Grandma Fran and not Heaven?" I said, "You may call me Grandma Fran until I am actually finished, and even then you may keep the name." He smiled with all his teeth. I am 71 years old. I know how a pickup line works. I know how a stamp looks when a court clerk means it. I know that a daughter-in-law who performs busy motherhood can still be afraid of a binder. I did not storm a house. I did not take a child from a yard. I hired a lawyer, I dated my facts, I stood in an office I understood, and I let a principal do her job. Erasing a living grandmother is not protection. It is a story, and stories can be corrected. If you are still listening, and if this kind of quiet family record matters to you, subscribe for more family revenge stories every day. I will keep telling them the way I kept files. Names, dates, and the moment the truth arrived on time.